on because they had turned it off because that pipe was leaking. That's taken like 2 years to get it repaired, but that repair is done. And now we need DEP to turn the water on.
No, actually, I believe what's going on is just like every private property has a service line. If it's broken, you have to get a plumber. Parks has their own plumbers. It needs to be repaired and water service is restored right there and then.
Right. And Parks
We're
told
not,
me
we're not.
at the
Mhm.
at the Parks meeting that repair was the service line repair was completed.
When?
When was the Parks meeting? Wednesday?
If they completed repairs, why don't they have water service?
That
That's their
DEP
valve.
had
Yeah,
said DEP had turned the water off at the main for them.
no, we dig and shut the valve. When you have a leaking service line, that's a safety concern. We dig and shut the tap. That's what we call it, right? Then you have to hire a plumber, and the plumber will do the repair and restore water. So whoever is in Parks, please feel free to, the community board office can have them reach out to me about it.
Okay, because that's different than what was said at previous meetings. So talk to, I'll loop Deb. Deb had brought it up, so she's the Parks Chair. So I'll have her work it out with Daniel and Farah and DEP and Joe Magnari.
Farah has put this on the district service cabinet agenda for a while now. I believe at the last meeting, Parks was not present, so I don't think they had an update. But Joe and Parks are aware.
She wouldn't have to do that.
Reached out before, so whenever we can help, we try to help. But I believe with this condition, they had to
Huh?
repair their service.
No.
So Effie, so you're basically saying that Parks has to dig up the street and turn the valve on?
Yes, whenever we issue these frequently, right? Just like we, sorry, Bob, I can hear background noise and I'm on the trains as it.
Karen, mute yourself.
It's not me. I'll try to mute other people, but I don't know how. Can I do that?
I don't think you can unless you're host.
Oh, here we go. Okay. Okay. Oh, so they all got kicked out because I was hosting?
Yeah.
What happened?
Okay, our internet, I don't know, the Wi-Fi went out for a second. I had
Oh, okay,
So apologies.
okay.
Now we are back. I didn't even understand. Wait. We are here too.
Okay. I can't see you guys though.
Yeah, we're connecting now.
Oh, I see.
All had to come back up.
Wow.
Didn't know the community board had a seal.
Oh, yeah, I saw that, right.
Well, congratulations on your seal.
Thank you. We like it.
Oh.
Oh, a Bruckner box.
Yeah, what is a Bruckner
I'm
box?
looking.
Did we ever figure that out?
So a
Bruckner box
A
is
Bruckner box is a
Section.
special kind of valve. It's a special kind of valve encased in a concrete box that you need a tool called a bayonet to turn water on. It's how Parks turns on sprinklers and other things.
Okay.
You can only get $100. I would donate that.
So right, so Parks, yeah,
Well,
Deb
we
acted
were-
like that it was for some reason DEP's responsibility to replace the box now that Parks did whatever they needed to do.
No, the box does not need to be replaced as
Oh, okay.
the issue is that there's the pipe from the box to the water main was broken and leaking. DEP turned the water off. Parks, I've been bringing this up for, I don't know, since 2021. Parks finally has now been able to use in-house money to fix the pipe. And their understanding from their conversations was once they fixed the pipe, DEP would turn the water back on at the street, which was also the community board's understanding from other meetings. And now Effie's saying that no, Parks has to open the street and turn DEP's valve back on. Is that correct, Effie?
So at our district service cabinet meetings, this has come up. Farah has put it on several times. My understanding is I never heard of a Bruckner box. All I know is that they have a broken service line that many properties, private properties, commercial properties end up having sometimes. And they need to do the repair and restore water service. There's nothing that we need to do. That's my understanding. If anything has changed, Parks can reach out to me. But I'm not aware of anything else that has changed since the last meeting we had. At the last district service cabinet meeting, I don't think Joe was on. So I'm not sure what the latest status is, but they can reach out to us if there's anything that DP needs to do. My understanding is it's on their plumbers to do the repair and restore water service.
Okay, so I think the confusion is they were under the impression that they had to fix the service line and that DEP's valve that DEP was going to turn on to restore water service. So I think that's what the confusion is they've fixed their service line and now they were expecting DEP to turn on the valve that they turned off. So I will call Joe or text him to tell him to reach out directly to you.
Yes, and as mentioned before, when we shut water service, we do something called we dig and shut the tap, right? So the plumbers that do the repair restore the water service. There is no reason for us to have to restore any water service. So when was the last time that you were told they're waiting on DEP?
Whenever this month's Parks Committee meeting was, hold on.
And who was on it, Joe?
Yes, and I also
Okay.
spoke to Joe in person on February 26th. So
And he said that they're waiting on DEP.
Yes, he said that he thought his understanding was I'm just looking to when the parks meeting was. It was just recently.
He's free to reach out to me.
Okay, I will tell him. He said that he was under the impression that since DEP turned the tap off, that they would turn it back on once the service line was repaired. So, and
It
then when
makes
he
no
asked that,
sense. It makes no
I
sense because when they have to dig to do the repair, that's when you restore the water service. Why would they be waiting for us to restore water service? I'm not sure.
I'm just relaying the conversation that we had. So
Yeah.
I will tell him to reach out directly to you.
Thank you, Jody. Thank you.
And I did put it on the budget request list, so that's part of what pushed it to get them to fix their side of it. So okay, so that's yeah, we've been going back and forth on this for years because this was related to all the broken hydrants as well. We were like, are those all synced together? So the hydrants were fixed last year. Now
Sorry. It keeps saying unstable internet, so I don't know, the internet's slow or something tonight.
Can you make one of us a host?
If you're co-host, does that mean that it
Yeah,
won't
if you
die?
make me a co-host, I probably will be able to stay on.
Wow, is that
Yeah.
true? I mean, I just did, but I think that's just so you can present. I'm not sure, I
Okay.
mean.
Yeah, I want to present.
No, if she makes a co-host and we get kicked out, then.
Yeah, everyone can be
Then,
co-host.
then the rest of us will be here, but you won't. That's kind of weird.
Yeah, but that's smart anyway to do, but yeah, and right, only one of our cameras is working.
Right, because then you don't have to let everybody back in. It's probably a good thing.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, so I am a co-host. Oh, Bob is coming in.
Yeah, I just didn't know.
Okay.
Does it let you do that too? I guess so, that's cool.
I don't know. It probably does, but I didn't see it.
But whatever, I got it. I mean, he's coming, or Jody's joining now too.
Can I ask, is the meeting formally begun?
Yes.
Oh, it's it? Okay.
Well, I
I-
started recording because we were immediately talking about, something.
Right.
May I
So-
make addition to the agenda?
Definitely.
There's a closure. Hello, Commissioner. How are you? Borough
Effie.
Commissioner Effie.
Hi, sorry, I'm in transit, so there's a lot of background noise. I apologize.
Okay. So at the bottom of 254th, near the intersection on Palisade, there has, as you know, there is a small parking lot next to the gatehouse. And for the past month, that has been closed, gated off. It may be a parks closure, but Effie, I just wanted to bring it to your attention. If there's any DEP work going on there or order to close that. It's an access point to Riverdale Park, so it may well not be within, it may not have a DEP work order there. I just wanted to let you know that was happening.
I think, Bob, I drive by it every day. I park in the Metro North parking lot. I think it's Con Edison is working there.
Effie, could I just bringing that to your attention?
Sure, if
Thank you. Yeah.
someone could just send me an email on it because I can't write anything down right now. I'll definitely look into it. Mhm.
So that's
Okay, no
it. I
problem.
mean, it's electrical work going on. I see them working in the building.
There seems to be a lot going on and we're not, I think that's another good agenda. I think we're not getting full reports on Con Ed work, or at least this committee has always been the one to get reports on Con Ed work.
So I've never heard anything from Con Ed since.
You haven't? Okay, all right.
No. But if they're supposed to talk to us, then yeah, I'll have them reach out to Con Ed if they're supposed to
I
give
know,
us
I think
anything.
it's that, 'cause like I said, I go into the parking lot at 7:20 and then don't leave the parking lot.
Well, and we
so
get things from other things like Spectrum is
Yeah.
upgrading fiber lines in Marble Hill, so, right now and
Mhm.
stuff, and like, they told the board office that.
So you haven't been going to the semi-annual committee chair White Lotus Resort
No.
meetings that Con Ed holds?
No, unfortunately not,
Okay.
no.
Gotta get back.
So
to
yeah,
work.
Daniel, just by way of information, this committee is the one who has always done that. Sometimes TNT, obviously, because it's road closures. But we're supposed to know major energy work and resilience work going on.
Okay, thank you, yeah, no,
Thank you.
exactly, because we've never heard from Con Ed, I didn't know that yet. But then we should hear from them, okay.
I just started taking it back.
There are enough people, this is a quorum, there's 3 of us.
Thank goodness.
So we can vote to approve minutes, just to get back on our list for a second quickly. Did everyone have a chance to look at the minutes?
Yes.
Does anyone have any comments or reason to not approve it right now?
No,
Um,
so move to approve, such as required, which you may not.
I second that.
Okay.
motion.
passes, I mean,
Minutes approved.
Yeah. everybody. Do that. Chairperson's report, only thing to report is that buildings that are required to separate, organics will start to be fined on April 1st if they are not separating their organics. So I think that's, buildings 9 units and fewer, or is it everybody really now? I think it's everybody now, right? I'm gonna say it's everybody now.
Everyone has the ability to separate. I didn't know about the mandatory.
No, that's the containerization is the 9 units or fewer. Everyone is supposed to separate out organics starting April 1st. You will be fined. There's the whole table on DSNY's site about how much they'll fine you. But it's great to do anyway, so compost if you possibly can. Okay, is that a better volume for people? Can everybody hear us? Okay.
Yes, we can hear.
Okay, so the next thing, which involves everybody here, is the meeting about the Harlem River Use Attainability Assessment Plan and how they're changing it. Is it the initial, so Karen, just do this, take over.
So I did this little PowerPoint on let's see if it works. And I was like, I think I have everything all set here. Oh, I can't find it now. Wait 1 second. Okay, that should do it. Yeah. Here we go. So, I wanted to talk about these 3 things. So this one here, I put at the end, but this is what we were invited to a meeting in February to talk with the DEP about the use and attainability assessment that they were preparing for the New York State DEC. So apparently, if they find that, let's see what I could do here. How do I get this moving? If they find that they can't take care of the water, they can't clean the water in enough time, they can put forward a program that says that they can't really take care of it and clean it to its highest level, and so they lower it a little bit just to make sure that it's healthy for people. We always thought that it was the opposite, that if you wanted to take care of the water, you could look at the use, and if people are swimming or boating or fishing, that you would have to, can you see this?
Yes.
Okay, you would have to, I mean, I can't go through the whole thing because I don't know all the terminologies here, but I can show you some of the stuff that they showed to us. So originally, the classifications also got changed. So the first classification for the Harlem River was Class I. And now they want to change the Harlem River to Class B WW. meaning wet water, you can't swim. This is swimming, this is fishing, and this is this is fishing and this is boating. You can't swim during that time. So it's SBWW, it's some kind of new classification. And when they get finished with the Harlem River, they're going to do all these other rivers. So basically, if they can't bring the water body to full protection and for attaining primary contact, that DEP will prepare and submit a use and attainability analysis. They are required to do that. And so they prepared a this PowerPoint has some good points to it and people could look at it. But they prepared a full document describing all the characteristics and stuff, some of which is here in this handout that they did. And they proposed to move it from I to SBWW. And so there was also a rule change, which I never really got enough time to read, but the rule change is also part of this. And I believe the DP has till the 31st of March to put their application in. I don't know if they did yet. And once they do that, then the DEC will program it and put it out for public conversation. And at that point, we could all comment on, I mean, we can always comment on it, or but there'll be an official comment period in which we can talk about what this means for the Harlem River. So the only reason why it's critical is that along with this UAA, they had to come up with an idea of how to handle it. And so one of the alternatives was to build a giant pipe. I think that's in here too. The giant pipe, oh, here it is.
Yeah, the giant pipe sounds like a fantastic plan, though.
Yes, the giant, the giant pipe, that's not it. The giant pipe is cost $9 billion.
Right, but then no sewage would go into the Harlem River. It would all go to the sewage treatment plant, and it would stay out of it wouldn't be combined overflow.
Why does it cost $9 million to build?
Billion.
No, $9 billion.
It would connect
$9 billion, right.
line sewer
Here's the
overflow pipe
alternative.
into
$9 billion. And
under the entire
yeah.
Harlem River and running it to Queens.
Oh, let's do it.
Isn't that amazing? Yes, we're gonna now request this every year from
In the
now on.
budget.
I hope that's okay with you guys.
Sounds
new,
like a
new
capital-
tunnel under the Harlem River, right,
New capital budget request.
right.
Harlem River combined sewer
How long-
overflow
How
tunnel.
long is it gonna take to build that?
Well,
There-
they're not
there
gonna
are
do
s-
it. They're not
yeah.
doing it because it's too much money.
Right.
There
But
are
it-
some issues with building in water. Before you leap, okay, into the water. But yeah, Karen will go through the whole thing. We have some short-term things that we'd like to ask you to support.
Right. So when we did it all involves the long-term control plan for the combined sewer overflow. And when we did that in 2016, 2018, we proposed the Tibbetts daylighting project and green infrastructure. And actually, I think we have documents for this. We proposed that we do green infrastructure first and build the daylighting project. And nobody ever thought it would take this long to go, but it did. And so it would have made sense to do the green infrastructure, but they can't do the green infrastructure, not because it's too much money, but because it's there's bedrock. So
Rocky.
bedrock, bedrock in the West Bronx and in I think I'm finished with this, and in the West Bronx and also in northern Manhattan. So let me go back to the slideshow. Here we go. So I should.
Robert is raising his hand.
When Karen's done.
You want to go back to the bioretention? Okay, so I found out that this is a whole chapter that EPA did in 2023, and it describes how they would be using a bioretention design. And the bioretention design is someplace in here. I didn't highlight it, but it's 4 to 6 feet. And this is basically what it looks like. And some of these are actually done by the DEP in other parts. Bob and I went and we saw stuff going on like this in Queens. And there's no reason why they wouldn't want to add that here. And then I started looking around for interactive maps. So the first one I'll show you is from USGS. And I could send you all this and you could play with it. It's all on it's all on Google. And so you can like actually, this is New York City, and there's a I don't know where the, oh, here it is. It's in my way. There's the can you see the legend?
Yep.
Okay, so this is orange is 0 to 5, a little bit lighter orange is 5 to 25. And so if you go in here, this is the Bronx. See this? This is the Bronx. We all recognize certain things. And if while you're sliding in, you could really see this is Jerome Park Reservoir. And so this is probably Broadway, and it's in a yellow area. And if you go to this thing, you can push this, and now there's 3 of these. This is 100 depth to bedrock, 135. This one here is more red. This is that's the site name. Let me see if I can get to the next page. Okay. Depth to bedrock is 0, so that's very high. Here's one here. Depth to bedrock. Let me move this thing out of the way. 74. So it's a little spotty. We do have a high depth to bedrock, but we don't have it everywhere. Now let me go back to this. This is the map of the DEP's. Here we go. Green infrastructure. So in addition to the long-term control plans, and each one had there was 11 different long-term control plans in Bronx, Brooklyn, Queens, and whatever. Here we are, and here's the Bronx again, right? Here's the West Bronx, the whole West Bronx, you see it? The whole of northern Manhattan. And even though there is some here in the East Bronx, it's not anything close to what's going on in these other boroughs. So there was a separate agreement with the consent decree for the DEP to do green infrastructure. And they had, I think they spent $3 billion over 10 years. And very few of that money came to us. But we did get some money on some projects. And I found all of them, like one of them is the, here we are. This is the project on Marshalloo, and it's 100% in design. And it's at Sedgwick and whatever. And then there's one at the entrance to Van Cortlandt Park. There's one over here by the highway. There's one here. There's one over by Broadway, and there's one on the east side. So there's a bunch of them in Van Cortlandt Park. There's not much going on here. All these green ones are actually already in. And so that's a right of way. So you can look up on the map and find out where everybody's getting their green infrastructure. So we're not getting green infrastructure. We're not getting a long-term control plan. And the only thing we're getting is the daylighting project, which hasn't really started yet. And they didn't do any green infrastructure. They also didn't look at 60% of the water that comes into Van Cortlandt Park into the lake, and then it has to end up going into the river through a pipe. 60% of that is coming from Westchester. Nobody's looking at that. DEC is not looking at that, which DEP can't look at that because that's outside the city. But DEC could look at that while they're talking about cleaning the water. And then there's like 13 bridges that go along the Harlem River, starting from the one at Spite and Dival. And those 13 bridges all discharge pollutants, not sewage, but pollutants nonetheless.
Contaminants.
Yeah, really. And they're going into the water too. So there are things that they could do, and they could do some green infrastructure. The bedrock is not really, doesn't look like it's a big problem like they say it is. In fact, I would like to see a study of, by some geologist, hydrogeologist, or whoever it is, to do a study and find out exactly what the problem is in not having green infrastructure here. I think I'm done, and I can send you the link.
Thank you, yeah, send that PowerPoint, there.
Oh,
So,
yeah. Give it to you.
Daniel, just make it clear in your notes that I have not been a member of the committee this year, so I'm going to say things not as a member of the committee now, but as a board member of BCEQ. Okay, I didn't know if Karen was speaking as a member of the committee, but I'm sorry I'm not a member.
Well,
I missed.
we're the water working group kind of making a report. It's BC.
Yeah, but I don't even qualify as that, Karen. I have not had good attendance, so I haven't had 3 consecutive meetings. So I'm just here as a community visitor. But I just wanted to say that this is a big project for BCQ but it really does impact Community Board 8 uniquely. So to put a very simple point on this, the DEP is essentially creating a new water standard for the Harlem River to match the present water quality, so that there is no forecast improvement in the water quality. Although DEP officials do say the standard is aspirational or meant to be aspirational, we don't like the idea that we are kind of making a new goal line, when, as Karen said, there are these alternatives. So the one thing that's being figured in, and you may want to really think about just how much daylighting matters, is the forecasted impact of daylighting. Okay, so they have made calculations on the attainability of water quality based on forecast reductions in CSOs, that is water from highways and sewer contamination, into the Harlem River. So we feel that DEP should continue strengthening, right, the role of daylighting, expanding its ability to capture and infiltrate water, and follow the path that got us here, which is green infrastructure, the greatest green infrastructure in the city of New York's history. So we really hope that Community Board 8 will, in its budget and any response to this, will really say the first alternative has not been exhausted, is additional green infrastructure and help for daylighting, okay? Because we have been Community Board 8 has been leaders in supporting daylighting, and it's just good to support this huge thing that's already working. So I really feel Community Board 8 is a huge contribution to the rest of the Bronx because, first of all, our sewage, our CSOs, and Karen mentioned the 60% from Westchester. Okay. Community Board 8 really can't go into Westchester. BCQ can and is. But what's happening is that the outfall that goes right into Wards Island 056, right below us in Community District 7. That's all taking from Community Board 8, okay? And that's one of the biggest outfall contaminations. It's 1 and 2 in this area. The other is near Highbridge, okay? So the more we can green Community District 8, the less outfall and help daylighting, the less we're going to have those contaminants going out to 056. And we're going to make sure they do everything at the emission end, including living shorelines, to help daylighting. But we really know that daylighting needs more wraparound infrastructure. And I think Community Board 8 has this huge role. So without that, DEP is also doing something we don't agree with, and looking at the present state of water accessibility in the Harlem River and saying, well, there's not much here, so we can fix this where it is. okay? And as you probably know, one of the reasons why there isn't water accessibility on the Harlem River is because builders and parks don't design it for that. So we feel like we're being penalized for something the city didn't give us in the first place. So whatever Community Board 8 does to support more green infrastructure, more support for daylighting, will help other communities, okay? Because we need to make sure they get their access that we will all be able to use. You know, when you go into Fordham Landing, the future Fordham Landing, that'll be something for Community Board 8 residents to get on the district. So this is preliminary. We're just really grateful that Farah sent out put this on Facebook, and Farah understood the importance for Community Board 8. This committee and this board has been real leaders in environmental policy in the whole borough, frankly. And so we really, like, people look, 7 and 8 are kind of joined in this. So we really hope you take a good look at that, and we'll definitely come back if you want us to talk about public comment and all that. But BCQ is gonna make sure that we know the possibilities for water access and for green infrastructure.
Yeah, and the other interesting part is not only are we credited with most of the pollution that's going into the Harlem River,
Yeah.
but there are only a few places that you can put your feet in the water, that you can access it, and one of them is Fordham Landing, and the other one is like over by High Bridge because of other things. Because it's a park, a state park, because it's got a railroad in the water, and so it's very limiting. And so, and also it includes parts of Manhattan, which we didn't even get into, but that's going to be another thing to look forward to.
And there's supposed to be a Bronx 12 report about this. I never saw it. 2 people said they saw it, but again, Farah made this work. She just brought News 12 to the community. So
Yeah, she really woke everybody up with
thanks
it.
to Farah. Yep,
She was
she
very
did.
good,
She did
yeah.
a great job.
Oh, I should say one other thing is that BCQ is involved in a court case on this particular issue. A really long court case with the Pace Environmental Law Clinic. And so we could probably say more things, but we can't do things without our attorney.
No, yeah, we're under advice of counsel, which is a very rare thing for big mouths, and a
Right.
good discipline for big mouths.
But we could tell you, you know, the basics of what we talked about today. And I think the whole issue of the bedrock is really significant. And Paul Mankiewicz, who is a professor, a biogeochemist, he said, you know, people think that rock is not penetratable, but it is, because there are fractions in it, and there's cracks, and the water, they just don't know which way the water goes. But that doesn't mean it's not going in to the ground.
Well, exactly, or it's not more of it isn't at least going into the ground and being retained even temporarily during the storm versus just running down the street downhill to the communities downhill from the other communities. And so
Right.
it all floods
And-
down Broadway.
Yeah, Daniel, that reminds me too about uniform stormwater rules. I have a budget request later on to suggest, but it does have to do with construction of buildings on the Harlem River and retention is what you're calling it, retention of water.
Yeah, exactly.
So I got a budget request for you.
Okay, so I guess, so Effie, do you have any clarification on the rule change is just, right, that it's aspirational, or that it's reflecting that the river is good enough for swimming or better than it was before for any reason? But it's not, no, it's that the river is still bad, but we wish it was this good?
Like aspirational.
No, but it's not.
I think that Karen did a great job. Thank you for bringing it up and also putting up our presentation that we did, which is pretty in depth. And I do encourage everyone, if they have not seen the presentation that our deputy commissioner had made, to please review it. If you do have questions or concerns, please send them in writing to me, and definitely I will follow up with our team.
Just so I understand, so the ask or the suggestion of BCEQ is to use this change in the standard as an opportunity to both push back against lowering the goal, but also to say that there is funding to do more green infrastructure work in the part of the map that has no dots.
Yeah,
Correct. We're asking them to seek alternatives because the $9 billion is unfeasible for the DEP at this time. So rather than maintain water level and provide for what's called wet weather exemption, that is no primary contact during wet weather.
for 36 hours after the rain.
Yeah, that will be the new standard, Stephen. It's a new creation for the Harlem River with the only proviso to the current state is the additional benefits of daylighting. Okay. They have factored that mathematically in. But that is the only green infrastructure then we get. And for us, it's a shame that that historic project does not have more buffers, green infrastructure support around it to maximize its benefit. If it's already being a factor in reaching this state. And that will be a wet weather exemption that will disallow primary contact for 36 hours.
And we don't know how long it's gonna be. I mean, we don't know if they're coming back in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years. We don't know. I mean, I always said, when you're done with the long-term control plan, are you not coming back? And truthfully, they haven't come back. They used to have annual meetings and we would go to all those meetings wherever
Yeah.
they were held. I haven't seen an annual meeting. Of course, COVID moved everything up and down, but we don't know what's happening. This came as a big surprise to us.
The other thing that's really important for all of us in terms of climate change is that the wet weather exemption assumes that we are going to get stormwater runoff, okay, at really dangerous levels for human contact. It means that because of sewer capacity, increased sewer usage due to construction, and more impervious surface due to construction, that there will be more stormwater. So that wet weather exemption is a real red flag. It shows us that the city is kind of bailing on a primary resilience requirement and goal, okay, of making sure that your building keeps pace with the rate of rainfall, okay? And this water quality standard is saying we won't do that and we can't do that. But we
And when
think,
you talk about, sorry,
yeah, go ahead, Steve.
Karen, when you use the word primary contact for 36 hours, that's got to be more than swimming, right? Because nobody swims anyway in the East River.
There are people that swim, apparently, so a couple of the people that we were talking with are, they boaters, and so what happens is that the wakes are so, potent, and we know because we've been on the river a couple of times, and the wakes are really bad. Doesn't matter how big your boat is or little, and people get knocked off and stuck in the water. So you boat, you fish, you're gonna get wet, and so it's a problem, and 36 hours, if it rains every 3 to 4 days, you could just figure it out. You're gonna limit the summertime use of the water.
Is it 36 hours and they test it first? Are they taking readings, or it's just assumed that after 36 hours, it
It's a good
probably
question. I don't know the answer to that.
Yeah, they're not doing tests, right?
Or it gets, the
they're
water's
not doing tests? Because sometimes like at the beach, they'll measure the, bacteria
Yeah,
levels.
That's different.
But the
Well,
water's
we
getting-
would never be able to do a beach, they said. Oh, you'd never be able to do a beach. You couldn't,
Because it
there's no
causes
beaches there.
wide sewer overflow event, which means the sewage that normally would have gone in a pipe all the way to the wastewater treatment facility is mixed with rainwater and ends up overflowing and just
Right into the,
dumping right into the river. It never makes its wastewater treatment. It just goes into the river, which is what, and also all of the Tibbetts Brook water is always doing that, or is always flowing into our, is adding to our current sewer load. And the Tibbetts Brook,
Will divert
daylighting will
divert
take
that.
that out,
Yeah.
meaning
Right.
that with no rain, on a normal day right now with no rain, there's still a guaranteed level of Tibbetts Brook water flowing through the sewers
Oh, okay.
as a starting level. So then when it rains and it gets higher, then it might trigger an overflow event, which maybe is every time it rains, but the hope is that it's only a big rain and that a little rain wouldn't necessarily cause that.
Okay.
Depending on the area. I think around us, we probably do, because it flows down
So
and everything.
as far as the funding for additional green infrastructure, all of the other sites, and by the way, what a couple of examples of what those round and square green, completed green infrastructure were showing?
I think they're tree boxes mostly.
Like things like,
Most of them are rain gardens, okay? There's a lot of rain gardens, and some new things that we're considering are called cloudburst projects, which in the Bronx we're doing in Morris Park and in Parkchester,
Oh,
where we're using porous pavement and some other substructure containments under like basketball courts and things like that. But green infrastructure has always been a challenge, like Karen mentioned, in Community Board 8 because of the bedrock. In the Bronx in general, when you go to Queens, they're all over the place. DEP's rain gardens also are a little different than your typical boxes, which you just mentioned, like a tree, a regular tree, one that you see with the guard around it. DEP's, I think I mentioned at the last presentation we did, or one of those flooding presentations that I had done. All our rain gardens are meant to capture stormwater, right? So they have 2 curb cuts, one at each point, right, and one where the water will enter, fill it up. When there's an excess, it has a basin downhill where it captures the stormwater runoff into it. So they're not just meant to be tree pits. They do serve a purpose, which is very useful. And we've had that issue in the Bronx and various parts of the Bronx where there's bedrock, and our engineers feel that the water, the soil has to be the right conditions for the water to drain properly. We do walkthroughs with other utilities to make sure that they can be sited properly on a sidewalk, that there's no other interference. There's a lot that goes into them. But yes, Community Board 8 has always asked for additional green infrastructure. Every year, I provide the community board around budget consultation time, which is September, October. We provide the community board with their capital project map. On it, also, it notes any upcoming green infrastructure or anything else. We're preparing those. In a couple months, we'll be distributing them to the boards. And those are all the DEP projects: green infrastructure, sewer upgrades, water main upgrades, things of that nature. But we provide that every year also.
yeah,
And
what makes it,
we worked with John McLaughlin to get a green infrastructure facility just at the northern part of Amalgamated, where Marshall Parkway comes in.
Yeah.
There's a little piece of land, I mean, it's
DEP land, yeah.
DEP land, and they are going to absorb the runoff from Marshall Parkway in it, and it just finally is going to go hopefully into the budget to 2026.
Mm-hmm.
So that will be really nice, and I have some drawings I can share with you guys on that, which is kind of interesting to see what they did, and they looked at the topography and the way that everything was going around, and we had have somebody come and do an examination of where the bedrock was actually, and so they were able to put it in the right spot. So we could do that. The point is, we can do that.
One
Done many blue belts, right? So if another green infrastructure type thing are these blue belts that we do, right?
Staten Island,
Primarily
yeah.
in Staten Island, but we know we don't have a lot of space in the Bronx, but we did a really good project several years ago, maybe 10 years ago, with Theodore Kazimiroff Boulevard, where we capture, it would always flood there, even with regular rainfall. And we did this mini blue belt type where the stormwater from the highway eventually is going into the lake inside the botanical gardens on the other side of the fence. We're always looking at new ideas, other ways of capturing. We can't do one. What else can we do? So we always appreciate feedback, especially from Community Board A, from BCEQ. Keep in touch. You
Well,
always
yeah,
Right.
we do have, Stephen, and the committee, BCQ commissioned a Hilltop Plan, it's called. And it is centered around Fort Independence and amalgamated area neighborhoods. And it is a unique project because it uses rain gardens, it also uses green roofs, and it uses parks.
In
Um,
private property and parks, but we use private property also.
Yeah, roofs and things like that. So, the point there is that we consider daylighting and Tibbetts Brook and Bailey and Broadway to be like streams. And what we're trying to do is build green infrastructure interventions at high elevations in order to capture the water before it reaches an inflection point and starts to pick up velocity. Once it goes down our steep ridges on either side of Broadway, east and west, then the water becomes too fast for sewers to take it all in. The sewers become supercharged just because that means they backflow, they back up. So we really, if you really believe, we look at Broadway, Bailey, and daylighting as a natural feature with a valley, a river, basically, with valleys on either side. It's absolutely critical for us that we interrupt the water before it picks up enough steam velocity to supercharge sewers. So that's our main idea, and it would really help daylighting. And then we have additional infiltration measures along Bailey that I think should really be integrated into DOT design.
And
But
I think
that's,
that the Botanical Gardens also has some of the cloudburst stuff there, right, Effie? I think they have like their path lets the water drain in.
that may be that they've done that. I'm not aware of us doing that investment in there.
I think you did.
Maybe we did. They haven't shared that with me, so I'm not
Right.
aware of it.
Okay. Right.
They may have it like porous pavement you're referring to, Karen.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I haven't seen it. We
Yeah.
should go investigate.
Yes, we should.
Mother's Day is coming up.
Yes.
We don't want to go to the garden on Mother's Day, but
Yep.
Okay, so we have a question for you too, Effie, is I thought we had approved the easement or the last step for the pipe that goes under the Metro North property.
My understanding is that we're still working with Metro North to finalize the easement agreement. We're waiting for MTA comments on the current draft. That's what I have on that.
it's the only thing I agree with Trump on, that the MTA is not any good,
Dangerous statement, okay.
Politics.
Yeah, right.
That's gonna be tweeted out by Elon Musk tomorrow.
Eating is
It's the
being
only
fun.
thing.
Yeah, right. Karen supports something.
Right.
Karen supports Trump.
Okay, because that was it, yeah, there was, so it's not, but there's nothing on our end, like we approved that, I think DEP, that, right, they're swinging on MTA, yeah, right, it's MTA.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Because
Well,
their issues, it's
Our
still, they want
elected,
to go back
our
over it.
elected officials are working on it, trying to figure out how to get this thing moving, but
Yeah, Daniel, you had on the latest on the easement. Did you want a little report on that?
yeah, that's what
Yes.
we're talking about.
Okay, so BCQ held a legislative breakfast, invited Community Board 8. Farah came, and again, it was really, it was fascinating because if you recall, Community Board 8 did some really great groundwork. Number one, it said, for our perspective in terms of looking at the Putnam Greenway as the potential linear path all the way to the South Bronx. Okay, we don't want it to be a greenway to nowhere. We've had enough greenways to nowhere. But first, this committee created said no garbage in Community Board 8 Marble Hill between 230th and 225th. And we are really drawing a hard and fast line there. So we're helping our elected officials are helping draw the line against MTA using Marble Hill abandoned tracts for garbage services. Okay. And your support of that resolution is really critical. The other thing is that Community Board 8 also passed a resolution about the easement, and that easement is massive. A lot of property that goes from 230th all the way to Fordham Landing, which is a potential bridge, a continuation of the Putnam Trail into the Putnam Greenway to the Harlem River Greenway. So our elected officials are trying to use, politics and funding and other leverage to get MTA to start negotiating for an easement through that DEP easement area. And Rupesh Joshi, who was the now lead engineer for daylighting, gave a great presentation to us. And he's really very cooperative. Effie, Rupesh was fantastic. He really went lot by lot in the easement and said, yeah, we need this, we don't need this. Yeah, we need this, we don't. And it was all clear, it was so straight and engineering, that engineering needs what we needed to move the water south. It wasn't this brick wall that MTA is putting up about, well, we'll let you know. All right, we haven't decided yet. We're just going to need it because we're going to need it. All this crap they're telling us. So it's totally frustrating. But again, having Community Board 8, and I hope Community Board 7 behind making this available for the continuation is incredibly helpful for us.
Thank you.
Who was the person that you were just referring to, who was discussing this and working things out?
Rupesh Joshi is the DEP engineer for daylighting. He's actually presented many times to the community board.
Okay.
Yeah.
But we asked him to focus just on this easement south of 230th, not so much on the,
And
the
he
park.
did it old school because we didn't have a PowerPoint. He just
Yeah.
It was
Yeah,
good.
Effie, you would have liked it. It was really interesting. It got, because that whole part of daylighting doesn't get a lot of attention from the public, but we gave it. We really wanted because it's like the next frontier.
I wanted to come. Unfortunately, I had another meeting that day. So
We
but
need two
Rupesh
Effies, I
is
know.
excellent. Rupesh is excellent.
He is. He's a great person.
David Gelman on the board is very, very, involved or feels very strongly about that issue. If we're talking about the use of the
Yeah.
area for trash depot.
Steve, he was there and I invited him. If I didn't invite him, he would just expand to fill the capacity of the need, let me put it that way, with his, outspokenness. But he was there and was totally happy to see people taking it seriously as he does.
So budget,
Mm.
we don't want to talk about the budget. We have budget responses.
Budget responses, okay. God, you guys were making me miss the community, but I remember the schedule was coming back.
Responses or the other?
I loved, the give and take, the budget here, the budget there, the this, that, the schedule of it all. It's just making me nostalgic.
Well, and this year, I mean, since we have you on, Effie, are you allowed to respond to responses or anything on this?
I don't know any of these, so I haven't had them in advance, but go for it if you want to review them.
These are things DEP already responded. This is a request from last year.
Okay.
We asked for one of them being
Mhm.
back to everything we've just been talking about, is to mitigate CSO outflows at Spuyten Duyvil Creek adjacent to the Spuyten Duyvil and Marble Hill Metro North stations with a living shoreline and green infrastructure
Mhm.
along DEP easements. And the response from DEP is agency does not support, cannot accommodate, remove request.
Mhm.
So we're not even allowed to ask for things.
Of course, you can ask for things. If
It was very,
No,
very strong
feel
response.
free to add it on. Listen, there's been a lot of discussions with OMB about these budget codes and responses.
Yeah.
We're not able to type in necessarily our own responses, so we have to
Oh,
take
okay.
whatever they give us.
Yeah.
So feel free, put it back on. Um, you know, you can do that.
I have a new one. Oh, you're not taking new ones, right, Daniel? You just want to go
Well,
through
I was-
responses.
at the
This
moment,
is last year's.
I was just
Yeah, yeah.
wondering if there were any others, if there was anything we wanted to ask Effie about just while we still have her for this instant. But,
Okay.
because right, we
Yeah.
also have right to do a stormwater management feasibility study. And it got the same response, but I guess feel like I would still want to request that. That's exactly what you were just asking for, Bob.
Yeah.
But what location?
It
Good.
outlines it, it lists it, it mentions,
Oh.
Van Cortlandt Village, Kingsbridge Heights, Bailey, and Broadway corridors, and Kingsbridge floodplains.
And we gave the same response.
You gave the same response, the cannot accommodate, remove request.
If you can be a little more specific when you do the next submittal, because you're going to be submitting these again, right? These are going to be new requests, or you're trying to think which ones you want to resubmit. Is that it?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that's good. Yeah.
If you can be as specific as possible with these requests and not make them too generic, why? Why are you requesting that? What is the concern? You understand? Because many
Yeah.
times, I've noticed when it's a general request, they're like, why? What is the real reason behind this? So
Yeah, I have an idea.
Yeah.
Effie, should we say flood condition?
It
yeah,
says to alleviate flooding and.
Yeah, flood condition.
But instead of just saying flooding in Van Cortlandt, like where? What are the specific streets? Have 311s been placed? I will look at each one individually. And by the way, you could share these with Farah also before you actually submit them so I can look at them personally as well. I like to go in my system and look and see. Just realize when we go through OMB through this process, we don't have codes where Effie can say, oh, I looked this up and it says we've been out there 10 times
Yeah.
and this is what our findings were. We have to put whatever codes they're giving us. So feel free, put in whatever you want to put in your upcoming budget. Make sure it's as specific as possible, but also tell Farah to send them to me, individually. If there's people complaining, I want to know the addresses, streets, whatever it is. I've noticed when people ask for general studies, the agency's like, no.
Fair enough. Okay. You do the studies. We follow up on 311 and district needs. Okay, got it.
Mhm.
Yep.
Well, okay.
I have
But for
one I
say,
wanted
like,
to
for
ask.
green infrastructure, if that would require a study, like, that's not something that we should be asking that you guys at some point do?
I'm sorry, I didn't hear the question.
BCEQ argues that yes, there's room for green infrastructure in the district.
Right.
You say that at least as in prior times when they've looked at it, they've thought it wasn't really appropriate.
Well, we're always.
How would we go about requesting that be reevaluated? Would that not be requesting a study? Would it just be begging for green infrastructure all the time because you would do the study as part of that if you were doing it?
Realize something. Community Board 8 has always throughout the years requested additional green infrastructure, right? Ever since we started our green infrastructure program. We always say, any upcoming projects, whether it's a parks project or a NYCHA development project or a rain garden, a DP project, we're always trying to see where we can fit in green infrastructure. Okay. So there is the bedrock issue in especially Community Board 8's district. But if you have specific locations where you feel, it would benefit, what is the reason for that? Is there a ponding condition there? What's going on?
Yeah.
Putting a rain garden is not going to, when we put in a rain garden, does not mean you will never have a flooding condition here again. It's meant to alleviate ponding conditions, and help with stormwater capture and things of that nature. But if you feel an area is having ponding, and it would benefit from that, be specific. Where would you be requesting it? And for what reason? There's a reason why we don't put green infrastructure everywhere. So if you can be as specific as possible, where are you requesting it and why? Maybe that will be more helpful, I'm thinking.
Actually, I'd like to put something just on the radar, Effie, and I know you're maybe still in transit, but this is Steve Fruit.
Yeah.
There's a major project to reconstruct West 254th Street between, down to the train station plaza, starting at, I want to say, Netherland Avenue, one block off of Henry Hudson and Riverdale Avenue. I think it's anticipated. That's a project that's jointly administered by the Department of Design and Construction and the Department of Transportation, with Design and Construction
DDC, yes.
taking the lead.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't understand how that jurisdictional stuff works
Well,
out.
just so you know, it's probably a DOT-led project, which means they're the one funding it, right? They're the main agency funding it, and DDC does the construction work. DDC does all the construction work for most of our projects, most of the DOT projects, and other agencies.
Got it. So they have already made reference in their presentations about this project to doing some green infrastructure, although it was kind of at the bottom of the hill, which is quite a hill. And from what I've learned tonight, that's not the only place or necessarily the best place to be focused on green infrastructure before the water picks up speed might be better. So I just wanted to mention that, because although it's not DEP's project, there is the replacement of sewer mains going on along that line, especially down at the bottom there on Palisades, which is part of that project. And I assume that's DEP, or maybe it's.
Yes. So like I mentioned before, some of these projects, DOT may be the lead because it's a DOT-led project. But what happens is when a sister agency is breaking up the street, they're doing street restorations and things of that nature, they'll reach out. So if it's DOT, they'll reach out to DP and say, hey, we're going to be doing this type of work here. Does DP see the need to add green infrastructure, do new sewers, or put in, new water mains, etc.? And sometimes certain projects are DEP led, where DEP is the major funder of this project. And we let DOT know, hey, we're going to be doing this major project here. Is there anything that you need to do? Put in new sidewalks here, or curbing, or something of that nature. So when you see sewers, even though it's a DOT project, yes, DEP has also put funding in, right, to address the sewers or the water, whatever you're noting there.
So is it possible for you to look into that West 254th Street?
Sure.
It's actually under the banner of Safe Schools or something like that.
Yeah.
Because of people walking, along that corridor into the SAR lower school.
Yeah.
So is it possible to look into that? So
Sure.
if there's any input we can have,
Absolutely.
people like Karen and Bob having a chance to take a look at what's being installed, because there's no question that there's a couple of different things that happen by the time the water gets to the bottom. It's quite a current at times. One of the things is that there is definitely pooling in the train station, which I realize is not necessarily land that's under your jurisdiction, it's MTA, but there's always this drain that no matter how many times it's cleaned, ends up being a lake. It's better now than it was, but it's bad. And then there's this old railroad bridge right at the beginning of the train station that shoots into the Riverdale Yacht Club as sort of a river over that bridge. So again, things that will absorb, and that eventually just goes right into the river. Anything that will absorb things through curbs and sewers and whatever other kinds of.
Didn't we put catch basins along there before
Yes.
it goes? Right. I remember being there.
Yeah.
That was
And
like
you've done a lot of cleaning there. We've had to get you
Yeah.
in because there's a lot of a sewer basin blockage there.
But
And
no,
in the train
I'm not
station.
talking about the one that's going down into the train station. I'm talking
Train
about the
station.
one that's right before you go over to the yacht club.
Yeah,
We
Yeah.
had done some work there and put in catch basins, if I'm thinking of it
Yes.
correct. This was like 10
Yes.
years ago, I think.
yes,
I
yes,
remember that. Yeah.
yes.
Those catch basins are ours. I have to just go back and double check, but I recall right before the yacht club, we had
Yeah.
put in catch basins there.
Yeah,
I
but
remember.
Right.
they still overflow because the seepage of
Debris
the,
ends up
right.
clogging.
and yeah. So
But
it's a
I'm
big
mentioning
problem,
it
but we
because
should take a walk maybe, you know?
there's a
Mhm.
complete redesign so that there may even be, God help us, sidewalks on both sides all the way down. I hope not. Just because it's not necessary and it kind of changes the character of the area, but everything is up for grabs. I mean, I think the design is starting to harden, don't get me wrong.
Well, haven't they
Right.
already have a finalized plan if they're doing it, or?
It's not finalized yet, no.
But
Yeah,
they
they
still
do
could do
that.
the porous pavement for the
Right,
Is-
exactly.
sidewalk.
Yeah.
Is there, I want to propose we get a presentation on this. This is huge. The
There
whole
have been a couple-
254th corridor is just a very environmentally problematic.
Yeah,
Steve, let me throw in that when as I was on a small land use committee trying to get SAR compliant because they had done some stuff with building that was contrary to the zoning for a special natural area district. And one of the things that we insisted on was for them to start building a buffer outside their retaining wall there. Do you know what I'm talking about on the north side of 254th? It has been recently filled in, but that street is significantly undermined by water, okay? And Effie, I believe at that point, that is a private street. Is that correct, Steve?
I mean, that whole lexicon is tricky, but
Yeah.
whatever needs to be done to do this project is gonna get done. If it's not already owned by the city as part of the roadway, which surprised to many homeowners, they don't actually own their land.
Yeah,
There's gonna be,
they're
there's
building on the,
already very carefully planned condemnation proceedings to take parts of yards in order to do this project. So this
Holy
is already very
Jesus.
well away. And it's not all, I'm not saying it's all bad, it's a very unsafe area.
Yeah,
So it'll be better.
wow,
But there's just a lot of opportunity to
absolutely,
design.
yeah.
And even if the bigger pieces have been designed, doesn't mean that things like green infrastructure can't still be
It has to be critical.
installed.
Yeah,
And there was an awareness of it because it came up in the original presentation, which
Yeah,
is now
so-
9 months ago.
that's very interesting. I'd be happy to be part of that. I live there, so, and I'm very
Karen has
concerned.
that original presentation to transportation. I sent it to her, a long time
Oh, it's in
ago.
the TNT committee?
Correct.
Okay, all right. But I think this committee could really make the green infrastructure contributions big time. Just because that road has literally been undermined. That was one of our big concerns by water.
we should check the map and see if it's a high water, because that is groundwater and high water, high groundwater too. Bedrock and high groundwater. And the water may be coming from other places because there's a lot of levels there,
There's a stream there.
probably is, right?
But who would be responsible for the plans? Is that just DOT or does?
DBC is overall
Okay.
the masters of the plan, and they've always led the discussions. There have been 2 presentations to TNT, one of which
Oh.
is almost a year ago. And the
Wow,
other was about 4
I didn't know
months ago.
this. Shame on me.
But the 4
This
months
is,
ago presentation was much less technical. It's on YouTube. And it was
Okay.
led by a community relations person from DDC.
okay. Hey, maybe, Daniel, if you want us to do something, we could start putting together specific recommendations for green infrastructure and other water, stormwater control measures.
Yes, exactly. I mean, if the answer is be more specific, then let's be more specific.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay, this is a huge opportunity. Thank you so much, Steve. I had no idea. Shame
And
on
right,
me.
if that's listing like this intersection at 254th, then sure, yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
they're-
they don't need other funding, they don't need additional funding for that, that's gonna be in the.
Well, right, they're already doing it.
Right, they are already doing it, it's
We're
just,
just
that-
talking about
it's just getting
Speaking what it looks
more community
right?
input
Yes, we're saying
or
we have,
expert
like,
input.
Definitely.
Like BCEQ
Try to
on opportunity,
mitigate
there's an
flooding
opportunity.
while you're doing this, rather than just creating.
Karen, we need to take a walk here.
Shoot the water down the hill as it does now.
Yeah.
Steve, do you want to lead us on a walk sometime?
Sure.
Okay.
I'm happy to walk it.
Oh,
I
you're,
mean,
yeah,
I work for SAR and my kids go there. I'm happy to walk it because it's important to our, like, we wanna do it. We're not in charge, we being SAR is like not in
Yeah.
charge of what gets built, but it's really important. The sidewalks have been really important to us for years. It's like a miracle if you watch that sidewalk
I
from like
know.
7:45 to like 8:20, it's a miracle no one gets hit.
Yeah.
So I'm happy to walk it and I'm happy to
fun.
make any connections you need, anybody you think would be helpful to join.
From within SAR, you're saying?
I mean, I don't know how much SAR input I think the only SAR input you might wanna consider is how they use the sidewalks or what the traffic flow might look like or what would be, for us, pedestrian safety is the
That's
biggest
really a
thing. Yeah.
DDC thing, it's
Yeah.
not a BCE.
Oh, okay, fine. Yeah.
Just a point of information, we were told back when we said the water is a problem, do something about it. SAR had to do that. I don't know if that's true or not, but,
No, SAR promised as part of a land use deal that they were
Yeah.
gonna put a sidewalk in, but it never happened on
I
the
see.
SAR side.
No, they can't have, my understanding.
Well, it's already,
Yeah, my understanding is we can't build a sidewalk because of the way the land is owned or something.
well,
I
whatever,
couldn't-
it's already,
different
we're
department.
past it
Yeah,
now
sorry,
because the city is
sorry.
gonna be
Yeah,
doing
yeah.
it.
Now the city's gonna do it anyway.
Right,
Mhm.
right,
And
so.
Well, the question is, and this is one of the things that we always talked about, does SAR have a stormwater management plan? And what does it say? Because everybody should have, every institution should have their own stormwater management plan.
I can ask.
Oh, that would be
yeah,
good.
that came up when land use, voted for the
Hebrew.
the newest building, remember in,
Right.
17,
Mhm.
18, I think.
Yeah, it's hard, the years go by.
Mm-hmm.
That's 300 years ago.
Exactly.
Anything pre-COVID is like a different era.
Yeah,
100%. Okay. 20.
Sorry.
So mostly be more specific, okay, thank
Okay.
you, Ed. Cause yeah, we were talking about green infrastructure, that's most of the requests for that, I
Oh,
mean,
you do.
otherwise. I mean, we can really itemize these later, but mostly the sanitation ones were just kind of like, submit that again. So we
Yeah.
would.
This is gonna be a big change. I
Right,
had
like,
one, Daniel, if you don't mind, then I gotta go.
Okay,
I had one.
please.
So, we really support, uniform stormwater rules. And speaking of stormwater management plans, DEP has really made it easy. However, we really feel like the people who are running that, don't have enough staff, and we want the city to staff up the Uniform Stormwater Rule Review, because it's really important for, DEP to have enough personnel, so that they can answer questions from developers who are new to this in a timely way and not make them go away, not make them, do the easy part rather than maybe do more green infrastructure. So Effie, how would we say that we want to increase resources for uniform stormwater rule enforcement or, application or whatever?
Yeah, you can definitely put it that in. I mean, I know Melissa, presented at some point or spoke about it.
Mhm.
And, they are trying to tailor it. So, it's more, I don't want to say this, but user friendly,
Yeah.
but definitely you can request additional staff to review, unified stormwater rule applications, things of that nature. All that falls under the Bureau of Environmental Planning and Assessment. But
Okay.
you can definitely request that. Many times we get requests for additional field ops personnel, right, to clean the catch basins and the sewers and things like that. So you can be specific with pertaining to the unified stormwater rule. Absolutely,
you.
you can put that request in.
Thank you.
EPUB.
Yes. Mhm.
The Bureau of what?
What was that? The Bureau of,
Environmental
Yeah, environmental planning
assessment.
and assessment, yeah.
EPUB.
At this point, I got to take a dog out, everybody. This has been a pleasure. Thank you for your time today.
Thank you,
And it's
Robert.
great to see everyone. Thank you so much. Great meeting, Daniel.
Have a good evening.
Okay, bye-bye.
Do you guys need me for anything, by the way? Any other
No,
questions?
thank you very much, Effie.
Thanks a
I think
lot.
You're
that's-
sure?
thank you
Okay,
very much.
thank you. And thank you so much, Karen, for bringing it up and to the board and everything. Thank you.
Thank you. I
Take care.
sent you
Good
a
night.
copy. I sent you a copy.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night. All right. If we don't have anything else, maybe we can adjourn.
I think so. I mean, and right, so you and Robert, and we'll talk about specific, green infrastructure things to request. And we'll give them so for next time, we can maybe rank like some very specific DEP requests, if that's a better thing. I wanna keep the sanitation requests. We can, work out orders of like, for returning to have more, electronics recycling in big buildings, things like that, which their response is right, as I said, sanitation used the codes that are like, agency supports but cannot accommodate resubmit
Right.
requests. So they're like, sure, and so great, we'll ask for it until they feel like they have funding for it, that's fine. I think that's good, because those things are fine, litter patrol. It was like 3 things, it was not that many. It's really it was the DEP responses that were all like real rejections on that code, but, because they're not, I guess, specific enough.
We probably should take a tour. That tour should be like on the weekend sometime, so that everybody can get to it and not have to worry about time of day and stuff.
Are you talking about the 254th Street?
Yeah.
Okay,
And
I'll
we
also send you, I
Yeah.
think I've put you in touch before, but I will again. There's a community group made up of homeowners around that area, which is run by, I think it's on WhatsApp, whatever that is. That's run by someone named Abe Safdie, Safdie. And I'll make him aware of anything that you guys plan to do.
Yeah, because you have to see it,
I have to go over there, I feel like I don't know what that looks like, I've never actually driven down that road.
It's a lot going on.
Yeah.
It's further north than I ever go,
It's a
really,
very exciting room.
generally, unless I'm going all the way and just into Yonkers or something.
By the time it gets really busy, I'm already like tucked into my office for the day, so.
How do they drop, do the buses have somewhere to pull into, or they?
Yeah, there's a driveway, but it's just like you're talking about getting 1,100 kids into a school.
It's
But
always
it's just
been
like a
challenge.
single drive, like one line of buses,
Yeah.
or?
No, there are 2, so there's one on there's a drop off on Palisades, which is where our early learning center is. And then on
Right.
254th, so there's like a lot of buses, both DOE buses, New Rochelle buses, and then like privately owned buses, and some like, I would say the majority of the traffic is buses, but there is like cars. And then
Well, there's like the Metro North bus too, right?
yes,
Right.
but that's hardly the problem.
Okay.
And then middle schoolers walking, you know, and then people in the neighborhood walking.
Just in the middle of the road.
It's just a matter of you're getting it's just like PS 81, when you look at.
Sidewalks.
Right, but if you look at 100%, I mean, how many kids are in PS 81? Less.
Well, and they're on the sidewalk.
And they're
None of
on
them
the
are in the
sidewalk.
middle of
Right,
Riverdale
but
Avenue.
They're like the cars are triple parked.
Oh, yeah, I have to say, even driving there is kind of scary.
Right, the cars are triple parked, there's, you know, it's a lot going on Riverdale Avenue. I assume they're trying to get less kids into the school than we are. We're trying to get about 1,100 kids into the school in a 30-minute window or whatever you call it. It's just crazy.
Right, but
and
they're not
then-
even all coming on buses.
Right,
Right,
a lot of them
right.
coming in front of cars. I mean, you know, I suppose I don't know if you guys have ever thought about staggering it the way that, you know.
So we did during,
For different age groups.
so when I was there, it was before I've been there for 2 years now, before I
Problem is
got
you probably
there.
put lots of different ages in one bus. 'Cause
Yeah.
They do the buses by location.
Yeah, but before I got there, when the COVID year 2020, 2021, when we were using no busing whatsoever, we did 3 staggered drop-offs, and it was just, it just, the span of time was bigger.
Right.
So I mean, listen, they've been there for what, 54 years, something like that, and I just, you know, it's just what happens when you get 1,000 kids in a school.
So it's over there on the corner of 254th and.
And Palisades, yeah.
But I
Way,
think the public schools have managed to do this. So like PS 95, they have, you know, they have one K to 8 and, well, not K, but probably 1 to 8. And they have every different group coming in at a different time.
Well, the traffic that's not a good example. The traffic up there is terrible too.
It is
Yeah.
terrible, but it's not
Buses.
impossible.
Cause the
It-
buses just
This is
stop,
not impossible.
cause they
This
just
is not
stop in the
impossible.
middle of Hillman Avenue.
That's right,
They
that's
just stop.
right, that's true.
They just stop in the middle of Hillman Avenue and they drop the kids off and everyone just waits and then they move
Right.
on.
Right.
Well, PS 81, I haven't.
95
seen
is up here, it's
before,
over
but I
here.
heard
It's, you know,
24 is
Public
a
Works
name now,
South.
so.
Right.
But, okay.
Different committee.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Right.
That's
Good
not
point.
our thing. But right, yes, I mean, should we do like an official walkthrough or just like, I mean, I would just walk over there sometime and kind of, you know, look at.
You don't
take
need a
pictures.
visa, you can.
Yeah, we can just go there, we go look.
Bring your passport with
When
you.
you take
please.
pictures, where would green infrastructure work well over there on your street? You know?
I did the street survey pictures and forms, we went out there.
Yeah, I just sent stair pictures. So.
That's what we did,
Yeah.
we did.
Yeah, we did too.
The Robinson, I took my kids.
I guess that's a question, maybe, I don't know if you just know the answer offhand, Karen, for. I mean, each own building is responsible for graffiti on the side of their building, like regardless of what side of that building is hanging over.
Hanging over?
Yeah,
Well, like buildings on the step streets, it's still the building's responsibility, or a building that the side of it is like facing
Mm-hmm.
the Major Deegan. Like they can't even get to that side of their building, but technically it's the building that's
They have a
supposed to do that.
responsibility to
Yeah.
remove graffiti. If they're fine with it, it can't just stay.
What I mean, but they would be the ones responsible, like they would have to pay to remove it.
Oh,
Or, but,
okay.
but like, I guess this Department of Sanitation could like give them materials,
Mm-hmm,
like they would provide paints
mm-hmm,
to the building, but the building
Mhm.
basically, it's on the
Mhm.
buildings to do it.
okay.
So I think for like the step street things, like you were showing, you know, everybody's probably showing graffiti along them.
The
Oh,
ones I
oh.
did not have.
Oh, every single inch of the Marble Hill one is, on
Mhm.
both sides,
You
and it's
got-
like,
you gotta do
that's multiple buildings, but I think it's all those buildings, it's the
You gotta
Seatown
do the
building, it's the
Johnson.
apartment building.
the Johnson and Ed Show one said none.
Oh,
There we go.
yeah, well, exactly, that's what I just forgotten, like cracks in it, there's a step missing,
No,
it's
we're
like
good.
broken.
Ours were perfect.
I'm gonna have to write up a good thing for that. But right, that's what I think it's the buildings really, so I think we just start
Okay.
311-ing it basically, and then they're forced to go out there and quickly paint with the same red color or whatever. Okay, that was what I figured, that has nothing to do with this committee, except that they can, I think, get some sort of assistance from Department of Sanitation, who will like give them paint or power washer or something.
Right.
Which is why things like the side of the Best Buy has stayed that way, because it would be, right?
Right.
You know,
Have you seen it?
oh, it's like facing the train tracks. I mean, on both sides of that building, really. People have somehow climbed up and gotten it on like the side.
Those people should be hired to clean it.
Right, it's my daughter, she's like, how did they get there? She's like really obsessed with it, all the graffiti around, like asking about it, what does that say, and how did they get to that? How did they do that?
Those
Why
are
did they
good
do that?
questions.
That's
Those
not
are all
good.
good questions.
Yeah, she asks it every time, we can't stop whenever we're on 87. Getting off there and sitting, cause it's now like 2 layers,
Mhm.
but it's all that's over the future Tibbetts Brook daylighting area. But right now it's like double decker, you know, graffiti.
Yeah.
But I know, I agree with you, Steven, it's kinda like, you're like, okay with it, like, can you just leave it? Yeah, I'm not sure. I think you maybe could get fined. In theory, I'm not sure. Okay, so we're done with the meeting. Thank you very much, Karen. That was all great.
Okay.
Now that makes slightly more sense, though, you know, only slightly.
Yeah, I
So
sent
then-
I sent the office the thing, and I sent it to you too, Dave, Daniel, and so,
Okay, thank you, thank you. You don't have that, the presentation for 254th from like a year ago, that Steven's referring to?
I
Do you
do.
have it? Can you
Yeah.
email that to us?
Sure.
Okay,
yeah.
because
if we
I
could
never
look
saw
at
that, so I would like to look at that.
I think I was at one of those meetings. It put me to sleep. And that was a long one. The first one I think I was at, where everybody
Yeah,
was,
that was a good one because an
Yeah.
engineer presented and it was
Right.
specific, but it was also,
Oh, yeah.
it glossed over a lot of stuff. It's like, and then we'll be, you know, doing some, a lot of the stuff, don't worry about, because we already own it.
right, yeah, everybody was scared. It was like a horrible meeting. All right, guys, I gotta walk my dog also, so,
Thank you.
all right,
Good
see
to
you
see you.
all.
Thank you, 8:30.
Okay, bye-bye.
Motion to adjourn, we're just doing it.
Second. Okay.